Hey Naveen.
Hi, Karthik.
Hi Naveen. Thank you so much for giving your time.
Sure.
Really, really thankful to you.
Okay.
So, so Naveen is one of the leading bass players in India today, and he is a sought after bassist in South Indian film industry, even in Bollywood. He is pretty famous in gospel circle and indie music scene, and I think he has been in the music scene for last 10 years or so. He's played for movies like blockbuster films like Kala, Kabali, Veda Chennai, Petai, to name a few. And his recent release is Master. I think Kutti Story is his recent song which has been released. So hi Naveen. So let's start with the most obvious question. Like, how did you spend your 2020? Like during the
Uh,
lockdown period, what did you
2020 was, I think for me personally, it's been a good year because, I had my baby, I had my son. So it's the biggest, biggest blessing. But apart from that, also, my wife was very happy because others were never at home, never in town, right? So because of this lockdown, I was able to stay and be with the family. So that was a good thing, and also made me think about so many things. For example, we get so busy that we lose touch of why we do this, why we do music. Sometimes get so busy and all that. So it was a good time to sit and rethink about things, and you know so I think, or rather, more I should say, it really made me appreciate the life that we have, or that we had. We just took it for granted. I definitely
do?
took it for granted
Right.
because now I realize, because everyone's working from home, and the pressure, between people and families, and uh, they're just waiting to get off work.
Correct.
They
Correct.
are at home working from home, but then they can't stand. They're waiting for like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. till work gets over. But then I just think, like, for us it's like, we don't know time. Like, even yesterday night I did a session, and in your mind you think it's 10 p.m. I think, okay, I need to have dinner. But then
Mhm.
when you come out the door and see it's 3 a.m.
Mhm.
So you just don't know how time goes. And then
Correct.
after you come out, you realize, oh, I think I'm hungry. And then 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., I'm going searching for food. There's nothing there. But
Mhm.
so it's a good, crazy lifestyle.
Right.
Nice.
So
Nice.
actually, it's good to know that because even I, from a corporate background, even I am able to relate to. So I think even you guys, especially even musicians. So it's good to know that for all of us, it's the same thing, like the same emotion that and the introspection part that you talk about. So it holds true. Like I can completely relate to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I wanted to ask you, like, let's start, let's, go by timeline and starting with your times growing up in Abu Dhabi. So, who were your initial music influences? And for every era, while you are in school, there are these phases, right? For us, it was Linkin Park and all those hip hop things, Linkin Park, 50, Eminem, and all those things. So how was school in Dubai? Sorry, Abu Dhabi and music there.
I think very, very similar. There used to be like huge, when I was in high school, Linkin Park fans, and of course I was a big fan of Eminem, for sure. And yeah, and insane. It's insane talent. Rapping itself is something, but then the way he used to do it, and even, now that I think of it, if you notice, why I so much like that music was, I never played that music, but then I used to love listening to it because you see the bass, no, it's got a solid bass hook line or a
Correct.
bass loop.
Right.
Like Marcus says in one of his workshops or interviews,
Hmm.
he says that he went to a studio in US and they asked him to come and record. So he went, of course he's got his own amp, right? Power
Mm,
amp. So he's got a signature amp. So
mm,
when you connect, it's a signature sound. Like,
mm.
that's the highest somebody can reach, right? When you hear like one bar and okay, oh, who's playing it?
Mm,
Like, oh, that's Victor Wooten. Oh, that's Marcus Miller, by just the tone. That's what
correct.
everyone strives to achieve. So
Right.
so Marcus Miller's got his special signature tone, so
Mm,
his amp and everything connects and all that, and then he plays. And I think he just played like 4 bars, and I mean, like a sound check thing. He'll check, and once we're done, he's like, okay, I think I'm good. Shall we, record the song? And they're like, no, thank you. You can pack and leave. So he thought like, man, I mean, or maybe he thought they changed their mind or something. And then they're like, no, no, we got what we want, thanks. And so he thought, oh, okay, that was so weird. He thought he's gonna, am I even being paid for this, for this
mm.
recording? By the way, he is one of the most busiest session artists of the.
Correct, correct,
No, I mean, he used to do even 3 recordings a day in New York.
correct, correct.
So every day. So
Him and I think Nathan East and all those guys.
exactly. Nathan East is much later, 20 in the 2000s, but
Mm,
Marcus Miller those days. And Marcus Miller is one of the few rare bass players who's playing across 3 generations.
right.
Like,
Like he's seen Miles, and then correct, correct.
yeah, so the 3 generation gap almost, so for a very long time. So he thought, okay, am I even being paid for this? And then he says he gets the biggest, fattest check he's ever got for a recording, because it's like hip hop or something. And so he's like, man, that's it. So that's all. They just wanted that loop. They wanted that
Correct.
his sound, and then they got it. That's it. They're gonna loop it. And so that's what he said. That taught him. I mean, he said he was just holding it and thinking, I go and play like 10,000 notes in a jazz concert, and I get such a thin check. And then
Correct.
I just come here and just play like 4 bars, 10 notes maybe, and I
Hmm.
get like such a huge check. So that's how it.
I mean, actually, that's a very good point because oftentimes we judge people. Because yesterday I was looking at one video wherein someone was talking about, fastest guitar player, world records, and all those things. So, actually, speed or number of notes, how complex it is, doesn't matter. Like at times, simplicity is the key. And in fact, playing it the most simplest, or rather, playing the simplest line is much more difficult. Like, you know.
Exactly, exactly, true.
So I think like even you guys had LP, Eminem, and all those guys, all those things growing up,
Exactly,
and
exactly.
I'm sure that
That,
in here,
sorry, yeah.
no, go on.
No, I think that's what. So very, very similar. I mean, these kind of artists, because more of pop music in general, because
Okay,
you know, and then I think by when I was in 10th or 11th, a black uh, African American guy came, and African more. He came and introduced me to. He's like, man, you should listen to this guy. This guy is called Victor Wooten. You should
okay,
check him out. Then I was like, okay. I just thought, okay, some bass, and then I heard Victor Wooten, and then of course, you know how it is. It's like a
hmm.
shock. Oh, what all can be done on the bass. So,
Correct,
but then my earliest influences, I still think why I've chosen bass, because I play the guitar, I play keyboards, I
hmm.
play started with drums and all that. But why I love the bass so much, I love this instrument, and that's why I play bass. Not just like I learned bass, I'm playing bass. No, I love this instrument, and the reason is one of the reasons I think is my dad. I mean, I come from a musical family, and my dad, mom, they're all big fans of Boney M,
Okay, right,
and
hmm.
ABBA and stuff.
Right,
So
right,
Boney M has such solid bass lines, no,
correct,
in their songs. Every song, it's the bass is in the front end.
right, right,
So and yeah, songs like, I mean, bands like ABBA and all also had some super bass lines. Now
correct,
that you hear, go back and hear.
right.
So I think maybe that all like kept going into my head, and so I started appreciating that more. Maybe got drawn towards that
Right.
bass groove thing. So maybe.
I think that was one of the best eras to be a bass player. I guess 65 to 75. Like in one end there was your Beatles and Led Zepp going on, and on
Exactly.
the funk scene there is funkadelic groups, Parliament Funkadelic and Boney M and all those things where
Yeah.
bass was the driver of the rhythm section. Like you could hear it.
Exactly. You had Motown and no,
Motown
and
exactly. Like I mean, even today, Jackson 5, crazy.
Oh yeah, crazy lines. And I think in school also, like I got into a band, the high school band, where the guitarist was a huge fan of Beatles.
Okay.
So we had to play a lot of Beatles, and then I started realizing like the bass has so much importance
Hmm.
because Paul McCartney is one of the main
Correct.
writers as well, right?
Right.
So like something like Day Tripper, it's like lines, super
Correct.
solid lines that you can remember, even a common man can sing. I think that's
Correct.
the biggest
Correct.
challenge. So that way it was super, you know,
Right.
super good.
So I
But I
think,
also think, oh yeah, sorry. But I
yeah,
also think
tell me.
main, uh, one of my main influences I owe a lot to my whole interest in playing and all that is Abraham Laboriel, Abe
Oh,
Laboriel.
right, right,
That's
right.
because I've been playing in church all my life
Hmm.
from the time I was born, and I mean
Hmm.
from the time I started playing,
Hmm.
I've been playing in church because and even till today I
Hmm.
play like almost every Sunday. So I never miss church, of course, and
Hmm.
play in church most of the time. And in gospel music scene, no, like Abe Laboriel was the man. I mean, he was the person who got the bass on the front. Like every
Correct.
common man started noticing, like songs had some solid bass lines, and oh wow, okay, that's the bass. Like if you don't play the bass, something is really missing.
Correct.
So I think Abe Laboriel played a huge part with artists like Don Moen,
Hmm.
Ron Kenoli, and all these people. So yeah, Abe Laboriel just brought that into this side,
Right.
and so I really owe a lot to.
Yeah, like even Abe is like Abe Laboriel is one of my favorites as well, especially because of I think he brings in all the classical guitar flamenco techniques into his playing. Like his technique is very
Exactly.
unique, and one of his best quotes that I remember. Like like if you listen to his interviews, his philosophies are like next level thing. So once he said
Exactly.
that one of the greatest things or the greatest gift a humanity can do is to listen, and he goes on telling that how each and every one of us is trying to communicate something, and the best thing that you can do is just simply listen, and that's how he tells that to become a best musician, that just keep listening to everything and anything, and that is the best gift you can give to the guy who has played it. So
Wow,
in
what a
right. So that brings me to another question, like obviously, which is quite obvious. So can you like elaborate more about your influence of gospel music into your whole music learning process, and you understanding the instrument? Because I think I'm sure in your previous interviews you have in one of the radios you have mentioned that you used to play in Sunday churches every Sunday. So,
yes.
how did that help you with your practice?
See, I think like in general, when you see there's lots of I mean, not lots. When you see musicians even in the film industry, suppose, um, you have I don't know, especially when you see musicians. At least I know some of my close friends, like uh, lots of them play in church. I mean, especially Christians who play in
Hmm.
church, and it's maybe a little easier, I would say. I'm not saying they're better or something. I'm just saying the approach is a little more easier, I feel, because I'll tell you why. Because when you start playing in church, you're just playing, 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 and now you have the congregation singing, and you have people who are the main singers who are not trained.
Hmm.
So they're singing. Sometimes you'll have to they'll just start in another pitch.
Key.
You'll have to immediately like change. You can't be there, and like, oh no man, that's not the key. No, no, you need to find what key that is in.
Right.
Sometimes the rhythm is so off, they would sing in their own time, and you need to pick up on that. So I think generally it makes you a very versatile musician,
Hmm.
and you need to adapt a lot very quickly. So, like once I played in a huge conference in Hyderabad once, and with me there were a couple of musicians who, like, I mean, I know I played with some super professional people,
Hmm.
and they were so shocked at the approach of the singer, the worship leader
Hmm.
and the singer,
Hmm.
because she was just repeating the chorus a
Hmm.
couple of times, and then she was singing the bridge. After the bridge, she went back to the chorus, went back to the bridge. So these people were so confused. And so I asked them after the thing. I was like, okay, what was wrong? What's happening? So they're like, no, man, that's not there in the charts.
Okay.
They're not following the charts correctly. It's different.
Hmm.
And I mean, we had to read it. It was like all written down, music that has to be read, like solid reading.
Hmm.
So that day I realized a huge thing. Like, I mean, even though you get like super professional people, or people who are even masters at their thing, uh, for them it's so odd and so different. But then for us, it's just so casual and so common. It's like, oh, okay, chorus, okay. So you just hear the first part and you're like, oh, it's back to the bridge. Oh, it's back to the chorus. Oh, so you're so fast in catching up.
Got it.
I think, yeah, that is primarily a huge thing. And then also, when you play in church, we have music that's from the heart. So it's there's no particular genre to it.
Correct.
So gospel covers a lot of genre.
Right.
So
Right.
so that is also a really good thing. So I think, yeah.
Nice. Nice. So, like, from there, let's focus on another important phase of your journey or your experience, which is your stint in Berkeley. So how
Okay.
did that happen? And how long was your course there, and how did that help you?
Berkeley was just, I mean, I just went for the summer course. So
Okay.
I just did the jazz summer course, which was a 5-week course.
Okay.
So I mean, see, I had a very big accident
Yeah, yeah. I
in
know about that.
2003. Yeah. So, which left me like crippled, and I couldn't move. So even if I had to move from one place to another or walk, I need the crutches, and I need two people to hold me.
Mm.
So I need to have the crutches and people holding me. So I couldn't do anything. So I was just I was bedridden for a year almost.
Right.
So 1 year. So what happened was, after that, because I couldn't move much at all, so I thought, okay, since I can't do anything, I'll just stay where I am, and I started studying theory of music. Like, I mean, I love theory, contemporary theory a lot. I always used to study and
Got it.
read about it. But then I thought, okay, why not go and do the exam?
Mm.
So I just enrolled in Trinity, and then found a person, and I just studied the whole thing, and then did my exams,
Okay.
and finished my grade 8.
Mm.
And then what happened was, the person said, okay, why don't you do grade 8 in practicals? So of
Mm.
course I'm not going to study piano or acoustic, right? So that's when they introduced rock and pop. No,
Trinity
like
Rock
now
and
it's
Roll.
Rock School of Music, Trinity Rock and Pop.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, but there was no teacher to
Mm.
teach bass. So I thought, okay, I just bought the book, and then
Mm.
I thought, okay, there's 3 more months for the exam, so I just enrolled for it, and then sat at home and just studied myself,
Mm.
and studied all the pieces, and then I went and did the exam. I was in Dubai and did the exam, and then again I got to. So then after I finished that, I thought, okay, I have 8th grade theory and practicals. Now what? So that's when this person who trained me in theory said, why don't you think of a university,
Mm.
maybe something like Berkeley or Juilliard or something. So I said, no, I don't have the money for that.
Mm.
And then he said, okay, why not try doing a course, a summer course,
Mm.
or maybe a term, something of short, 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, something like that, and
Mm.
just for the exposure. So then I, proceeded forward, and then got this. So my dad said, see, you want to do music, that's your choice. You need to support that yourself. Don't expect us to support you.
Mm.
So it's quite expensive, the course, very, very
Right.
expensive.
Right. Right.
So I had a timeline, 6 months or something, and then I just worked, went and played wherever possible, taught so many. I used to teach. I started teaching from when I was, I think, around 12 years old, 12, 13
Oh.
years old, I think. Yeah, from 13 I've been teaching professionally.
Oh.
So, like, you know, people used to pay me.
Mm.
So when like the parents used to pay me, so
Mm.
which means their kids have to show them results, correct?
Correct.
So I have to. So also, and then I started teaching professionally as well in Abu Dhabi. like my youngest student was 7 years old, and she wrote the exam and she passed as well. I think she did grade 3 or something.
Okay.
And my oldest student was almost 65 some plus,
Okay.
uh, really really old.
Hmm.
So it's a huge,
Difference. Yeah.
and yeah. So one of my students was also a truck driver actually in
Okay.
Dubai, from Dubai, Abu
Okay.
Dhabi. So all kinds of people. So I have taught professionally as well. So um, yeah, that's
Okay.
like
So that's how you
I
funded your
I, I
course.
I did everything, and then I funded myself and went for that. So, and when you fund yourself, you
Hmm.
take it very seriously.
Right.
It's
Correct.
always it's always a little more cool when somebody else pays for it. But when
Hmm.
you pay for it, every day counts. So I was like,
Correct. Yeah.
I tried to
There's also a
study
couple of
everything.
videos of you playing in an, I think, Indian ensemble band. Like, you have done
Correct.
some slap grooves and all. It's there on YouTube.
Correct, correct. That was a song. I mean, that's a very unique experience for me. I still haven't had an experience like that
Hmm.
till date, almost, because what happened was there was a Middle Eastern ensemble,
Hmm.
and they had microtones, actually quarter tones in the
Correct. Correct.
staff.
Hmm.
So that was very unique. Like it's as Indians we are not used to reading charts much, right?
Right.
So reading chart itself, I read, but it's reading itself is difficult. It's not
Correct.
that easy. You need to really concentrate. And then microtone and all is so difficult. And I was not
Correct.
playing a fretless. I was playing a fretted bass.
Right.
So that was a super experience, unique, experience. Much later, when I came to India, I toured with a band called Carnatrix,
Okay.
uh,
Hmm.
which was led by this legendary guitarist who's no more, but John Anthony,
Hmm.
late John
Right.
Anthony.
Right.
In like, yeah, you might have heard of him.
Correct.
He's a true legend, and
Like.
yeah. So I mean, one of a kind. There's nobody else who could play like him, and
Hmm.
so his music had a lot of odd time signatures
Hmm.
and lots of these, microtonal kind of
Microphone.
elements.
Got it.
So yeah, some very crazy stuff. Like he used to split the guitar into two parts. So the bottom three strings plays one rag. The top
Okay.
three strings you play another rag
Oh. Okay.
in the same song. So
Okay.
every time you cross over, you need to
Hmm.
switch to the next.
Okay.
So on the bass, if I'm playing a four-string bass, the bottom two is
Hmm.
one rag, and top two is another rag. So it's all unheard of, right?
Correct. Correct. I like.
Crazy.
I don't even know what that is. Like, how does that?
Yeah, like just an example, you play A, B on the top strings,
Hmm.
but then down you can't play A, B. You will have to play A sharp and or B flat and
Got it.
C,
Got it. Hmm.
and you can't play C on the top. You can't play B flat on the top.
Okay.
So it's crazy all the time thinking like, okay, so it's a lot of visualization,
So
and
you can't do your typical octave five of like
no,
root of five
none of that
octave.
works.
No.
None of that works. So there's some very very so I toured with them in Germany. We did a huge German tour,
Okay.
and a couple of times we did a Europe tour. So super experience. I can never forget those experiences. Maybe ever in my life. So
Nice. So, so that leads to another topic here that, what are genres you have so far played? Apart from your, obviously, everyone knows you play for films, you play for gospel bands. And apart from that, what all genres do you play?
I think I mean being a session artist. No, I think that's also what I love about being a session artist, because there's no you you never know, right, who's calling
Right.
you, and
Right.
what genre they have for you, and you need to, like, play and
Right.
deliver. So that's when you're a proper session artist. If not, you're not. So
Right.
so yeah, I think so what happens is, also the beauty of this being a session artist is, you're not limited to one style.
Hmm.
So if you ask me what's my favorite style of music, not really, you know I
Okay.
have a few favorite artists and stuff, but then I listen to so much music. Like recently, I just did a recording last week for this music data. It was a super session, and
Hmm.
after the session with the engineer and stuff, I got introduced to another kind of music, and I'm I've been like listening to so much of electronic music,
Okay.
this week.
Hmm.
So much of electronic music, the punch and the kick and the drive,
Hmm.
and so it's like uh, that's for this week or this month. I don't know what's coming up next week, so
Got it.
that's a beautiful. Because when you have to record a particular genre, you need to like know something about it. So you go and listen to songs, listen to artists, and study about it. So it's a great process,
Right.
I
I
think.
think, yeah, not like, not only genre, also the way you have approached the bass lines. It's like, in fact, I've noted down few things that I remember. For example, in the song Siriki Vasam, uh,
Okay.
the Dhanush's movie, it's
Yes.
way back. So there, the bass line might seem very simple, but it's locking in with drums like anything. Like, both
Mm.
drums and bass driving. And then in Marna Mas, interestingly, with all those Indian percussion ensemble, you are like, it's the bass frequencies is like, peeping out and going back, like, just bouncing here and there. And then Maya Nadi, your harmonic and melodic thing. Similarly, like Maya Nadi, you have your Ennadi Mayavi from Vadachandi. Again, a melodic piece. And that slide that you do, it like literally, in fact, I remember watching the movie in theaters. That bass slide, along with the picturization, like transcends you to some other.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Like, I think one thing that I've noticed you as a player is, not only styles, you you have different bass lines, or approaching each song in a different way. So that's really nice. You know.
I Thank you so much. I mean, gives me so much joy because when people are noticing things, no. So because sometimes we work so hard. I mean, you obviously know it's not easy, right?
Correct. Correct.
It's so much of listening, so much of studying, so much of understanding, and so much of work that you put in. It just doesn't come like that. So we spend
Correct.
so many hours doing something, and the whole challenge is just think about it and see, like, once you go and record a song, that's going to be there for life, right?
Correct. Correct.
For life. The next,
Right.
after 20 years, somebody's going to listen to it. That's what you played. And
Right.
all that happens in just that 3-4 hours that you're
Right.
there in the
Right.
studio. And the first time you ever listen to the song is once you go to the studio.
Correct. Correct.
Every time once you, so till we go up, no clue what the song is. A lot of people tell me, shall I send you the song? Shall I send you for writing? Sometimes I'll be okay just to write the chord. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry, but the most of the time I don't prefer that. So I say no, I'll come there and listen to it. So you go blank to the
Hmm.
studio, you just park your car, go up, and then I usually like having a cup of tea or coffee,
Hmm.
whatever, something hot. So just, and then I'll ask him to play the song. So, and then I'll sit and write the song. So that is like the first time you're listening to the song
Hmm.
ever. And then in the next following 2 to 3 hours or 3 or 4 hours, I mean, so, of course, some songs depends on how much work. The next 3 to 4 hours, whatever you are planning and playing and recording, that's gonna be there for life.
Correct.
I mean, you can never go back
No
and change
back.
it after.
Correct. Correct. No way going back. So an interesting question just popped my mind. So say whenever especially you're tracking a song, do you do multiple takes? For example, say a song like Papa, okay, uh,
Mm.
the Vijay song, which, like, bass line is all over the place. Uh,
Yeah.
does it happen that you tell the director that, okay, let me give you take one, which is just locking in with the drums. Let me give a take two, which has melodic thing. Let me give a take three, which is groovy. So does that happen, or do you know in mind, okay, this song has to be this style of bass line?
No, I think it's a lot of takes and experimenting. No,
Okay, so
it's
finally, what
it,
fits better?
yeah, it's not like a lot of takes means, of course, but every time there's a couple of options, because you play once, but then you also have like, oh, there it can be approached this way also.
Hmm.
So lots of time people ask me for slap, like
Hmm.
recently also
Right.
somebody was saying, man, it's so difficult to get him to play slap and pop, because every time we ask, there's some excuse, because I feel only if the song requires, like
True.
really
True.
really requires, and if there's space, you can do some. I just recently recorded a Malayalam film song
Hmm.
a couple of days back, actually 2 to 3 days back,
Hmm.
which had a lot of slap,
Hmm.
and um, it's like I don't know after how long I'm playing slap and pop, but
Hmm.
then because see when the rhythm is so heavy and all that, what the song requires is a bass line, right?
Correct.
So I've also been training myself a lot and been very cautious about you know when I record, when I play, whether it's live or studio, uh, playing for the song
Correct.
rather, giving what the song requires.
Correct.
So
Right.
because like for example, at one particular place I can do this fill, it'll be
Hmm.
crazy. Okay, so like recently also some record, I remember, you can do this, line, and it'll be like, wow, whoa, whoa, what was that? It'll
Correct.
stand out. But
Yeah.
then later on when I realized that the feel of the song is not that.
Correct.
The
Correct.
feel of the song is very mellow. So there, if I do that, I can stand out. I know people will be like, wow, what was that? But then no, that's not serving the song or the purpose of the song. So rather, I took another option which plays more something very, very subtle, just like a single note, which
Correct.
suits the song. So, I mean, that's of course after years and years of playing,
Correct. I mean, I think like, that's real, mature musicians. So like truly speaks that you are musician first, then bassist next, right?
I think,
Something I can relate to with AC/DC band, right? So
okay,
AC/DC is someone who starts learning drums. So that's every song they have the basic 4/4 rhythm. So that someone, so I don't probably Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater or someone in an interview mentioned that all their bass lines and drums are it's pretty simple, but that doesn't mean that those guys can't play complex stuff. It's just they choose to just play it simple so that the other guys can do, and that's what the tone of the band is, or that's what the song is required.
true, very true. I
And
think that is also a super. I mean, that is a super approach because, sorry, like I said, end of the day, you need to serve, right? Because we are
right.
in the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
and like I said, serving for the song, like what the song requires, playing that which the song requires is more important than playing what would highlight me,
Correct.
or
Correct.
highlight myself. So that, uh, and also the biggest challenge initially I faced, and even maybe these days I face is, see, we play pop music. Film music is pop, right? In
Correct.
India, pop music is film. So it's the common man who's listening.
Correct.
So my whole approach is, more than musicians and technicians. It's how do I make a bass line where the common man would enjoy. I
Right.
mean, he wouldn't
Right.
know it's a bass line, but
Correct.
then something it's nice. Maybe something harmonically, something like for example, you were saying about Maya
Right.
Nadi,
Right.
Yeah,
Maya
like
Nadi
the
also.
Maya.
Maya Nadi also. Yeah.
Yeah, the initial thing is it's it's Shweta Mohan singing her voice, and so Santosh Narayan was like, I need some, like,
Correct.
contrapunctal melody or some harmony, some line, a separate bass
Correct.
line running along.
Correct.
I mean, he's a beautiful sound, not like a, I mean, you can even say like a sound designer in terms of the instrument song,
Got it.
and his mixes are super. His sound sense is so international, so
Correct.
advanced. So I mean, he was saying, okay, I need a line like this which goes with the melody, supporting the song, complementing the melody. At the same time, it has to have its own, you know,
It's on melody
identity.
also, like something that you can
Yes,
sing, just like
yes.
all your Baroque bass lines and all, like
Correct,
J.S.
exactly. The
Bach bass
Bach
line.
approach. Correct. Very much JS Bach
Nice.
approach. So, and so I really am very, very grateful to composers like, Santosh Narayan, and I mean, most of them, Anirudh, and lots of people I work with, because they give me that freedom, no, that
Correct.
freedom to, experiment and stuff. So, um, yeah, and
I mean,
it's very,
that's
very nice to hear.
correct, correct. And also, going back to the slap thing that you were talking about, like, that's another thing, at times, things which are overdone for a bass player is slapping, and also that slap and that slide, like two things which if done too much, like it loses the beauty.
Correct,
So
correct.